that was fighting for gay rights, and people were killed.
Nobody was killed at Stonewall.
Nobody was killed.
We're officially 1 week away from the RuPaul's Drag Race Season 18 finale, aka the moment we find out which queen is about to step into that winner circle and carry on the legacy of the main series. So I figured, why not go live and break down the top 3 in real time? What you're about to watch is that live stream recording, which was completely unscripted. And as always, by the end of this month, I've got a full mega deep dive coming on a very special queen. Try to guess who that is in the comments below. But before we start, there are 2 types of tasks in life. Tasks you do immediately and tasks that live in your brain for months. Booking a doctor's appointment, for some reason, always ends up being procrastinated for forever. It's not that I don't want to go, it's that the process feels unnecessarily complicated. Suddenly, the tiny responsible decision turns into a whole production. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can find and book high-quality in-network doctors. There are over 150,000 providers across all 50 states. You can search by specialty, dermatology, dentistry, primary care, eye care, or even by symptoms if you're not exactly sure what you need. There are more than 200 specialists on there, so you're not limited to just the basics. The biggest thing for me is seeing real-time availability. You open the app, choose a doctor, and you can see actual open time slots. That alone removes so much hassle. You can also read thousands of verified patient reviews, which I always check. It gives you a sense of who the doctor actually is, whether they're thorough, clear, efficient, good at listening. That makes it feel intentional instead of random. And you can choose what works for you. In-person visits or video appointments. Most appointments made through ZocDoc happen within 24 to 72 hours, and you can even find same-day appointments. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/GreenGay to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/GreenGay, and you'll be supporting the channel in the process. Now, let's begin. We finally have our top 3 for RuPaul's Drag Race Season 18. Now, it has been a rocky season, but this video will focus on the 3 finalists. So first we have to look at the different track records. Off the bat, Myki Meeks has the best track record by a landslide. It's interesting to see since for half the season, she was pretty much fading into the background by constant safe until ultimately landing in the bottom 2. And then she gets this redemption where suddenly not only is she either winning, but she's either winning or she's high. Laganja would be proud. She ends up with 4 wins in total, 4 high placements, 4 safe placements, and 1 bottom. Then we look at Darlene Mitchell. Darlene Mitchell ended with 2 challenge wins, 4 high placements, 6 safe placements, and 1 low. And then we have Nini Coco, who probably has the worst track record with 2 challenge wins, 1 high placement, 5 safe placements, 1 low placement, and 3 bottom 2 placements, all of which happened in the last 3 weeks of the competition. I mentioned this in a tweet earlier today, and it's that I usually do weigh heavily when it comes to track record. To me, track record just makes sense. It means that you did the best throughout the entire competition and out of everyone that was left. So I usually will gravitate towards someone that has a more impressive track record. Of course, with a few exceptions, because having the best report card isn't the end all be all. Sometimes there's so many other factors that we have to take into consideration. For example, there's the personality department, there's the runways that each queen brought, the storylines. You can be someone that did consistently the best and still end up sort of fading into the background or not necessarily getting the respect or hype from the fandom. For this season though, I'm sort of putting track record aside because as we know, the person that had the most impressive track record was Jane Doan, who ended up going home placing 5th. Now, ignoring the whole controversy and all that, I'm just taking the facts as they are. If Jane Doan's track record wasn't good enough to warrant her staying in the competition or either being saved from the bottom 2 or getting a double save, if Jane Doan's track record, which was one of the most historical ones that we've seen in years, being that it's probably going to take a while before we see any future contestant in the main series beat it. But if that wasn't good enough to save her from being eliminated, then why should track record be what decides the top 3 for this season? So for that reason, I'm going to be looking at all 3 of these queens on an equal slate. But yes, when it comes to track record, Myki Meeks is the clear winner. And it sort of reminded me of something. I know this isn't an all-star season, but there's been so many all-stars editions, usually versus the world, where it's just 6 episodes long. So imagine if this season had ended in 6 episodes. It would have meant that we would have never gotten to see Myki come out of the woodworks as this front runner. The only reason I'm bringing this up is because Canada's Drag Race is doing their first all-star season comprised of only Canadian queens. And even though they already had 2 versus the world under their belt that were also 6 episodes long each, they still decided to make this one 6 episodes long too, which is the worst decision you can make as a production company because it makes that season feel empty. And in the long run, it just doesn't feel like a genuine, fully fledged season. Anyways, I went a little bit off topic, but let's go back into this top 3. Now I want to talk about each of these queens' storylines. This season did not have very good storylines at all. That's probably the #1 complaint from most of the fans that I've seen online, and I completely agree. But focusing in on these 3 individuals that ended up making it to the end, they all seem to have a sort of equal amount of presence when it comes to their storylines throughout the competition. Myki Meeks does have that cool redemption storyline where she goes from being an underdog to being undervalued by the girls to suddenly becoming a force to be reckoned with and getting 4 challenge wins by the end of the season. Darlene Mitchell is also an underdog storyline. She was viewed by the girls and the judges as being a potential early out, and not only did she have so many shining moments throughout the competition, but she ended up gaining the respect of even Rupaul, as we saw in this last episode where Ru really gravitated towards the fact that Darlene ended up becoming sober and how much it changed her life, and Ru really resonated with that. So you already see that connection between her and the judges. And for Nini Coco, it's so weird because I truly thought that Nini was a potential winner earlier on in the season, especially when we got to the talent show, which was the midway point of the season. I was like, even though she didn't get voted into the top 2, it was clear that she still was one of the best of the week. Yet after that, it kind of feels like she fell off. I don't know if some of you will agree with me, and please comment below if you don't, because I'd love to hear your perspective. It seems that after the talent show, Nini started really getting so many moments on screen where she kept second guessing herself because of the way she was handling her relationship with the other queens. We know the other queens were constantly saying how, oh, Nini's got a gun, and that she doesn't really handle the conversations and interactions between the queens when they're in a group because she'll say something that's out of line and kill the whole mood. Not only that we as an audience never really see that, but at one point it started getting so repetitive. Nini would talk about in her confessionals about how hard it is that she's not connecting with the other girls, and what it did in return was make her come across as really insecure. And that's an aspect for a contestant that sort of blurs whether she's a good winner for the whole season or not. You kind of want someone that's sure of themselves. That's why when Jane Don't said that Nini's issue is that she's not just owning her personality, I completely agreed with that. So let's talk about personality. When it comes to personality, I am sort of lost, and this is probably something that you guys can discuss more below in the comments. This season had very poor storylines, and part of the very poor storyline critique is that we didn't really get to connect to most of the queens, and that's something that I still feel mostly resonates with a good portion of this top 3. I like Nini Coco. Like I said before, I was rooting for her for most of the season until ultimately she started cracking a bit more towards the end. Myki Meeks I would describe as having a quirky personality. She has this like awkwardness about her that makes her very endearing, and that's something I noticed not just with her but also Darlene Mitchell, who's coming right up. Darlene Mitchell arguably outshines all 3 of the top 3 when it comes to personality. In fact, I don't know who else this season should actually win Miss Congeniality. It sort of reminds me of season 16 when Sophia Cristal ended up winning Miss Congeniality. Personally, I do hope that she doesn't get Miss Congeniality, just for the fact that I feel like if you give Miss Congeniality award to one of the queens in the running for the crown, like within the top 3, it can actually hinder them getting the whole crown, because it's like, oh, you already won Miss Congeniality, I guess we don't have to give you the crown for the season. So for that reason, I will say that Darlene Mitchell, while she has the most endearing personality out of arguably the whole season, she should not win Miss Congeniality, even though that's not even a topic going on right now. But, you know, I just thought about it right now. So then track records versus winner energy. So we all know if we're discussing track record, yes, Myki Meeks is 100% the best. But who has that winner energy? To be completely honest with you, winner energy is such a subjective thing to say because there's so many variables that come into what makes someone have that essence. How do you gain that factor as a contestant to have people look at you and feel that you could be a potential winner? I don't necessarily have anyone I'm hardcore rooting for out of this top 3. It's mostly who I would prefer to see take the crown. To me, Nini Coco is not going to win this season. I may be proven wrong in the next 2 weeks when the finale comes out and maybe she does get the crown. But right now in this moment, it seems that out of these 3, Nini Coco is the weak link. Not just in terms of her storyline where for half the season she was second guessing herself and felt insecure and that the other girls didn't like her, but also in terms of how she was doing the competition. She was in the bottom 3 times in a row, and that's sort of the last impression that I have of her, is the fact that she was fumbling most of the challenges next to Juicy Love Dion. So the crown really at this point is between Darlene Mitchell and Myki Meeks. Like I said before, if this was any other edition, I probably would be rooting for Myki Meeks because she did the best. But after Jane Doan's elimination, I don't feel as required to root for the person that had the best track record because the person that had the best track record is gone. Not just that though, I asked myself, and I want you guys to ask yourself this question: which of these queens would feel the most exciting for you to see win this crown? So then, which of these 3 queens would have the best potential reign? So Nini Coco, maybe it's because I still don't know much about her. I'm not sure where she would take the direction that her platform would be once it gets that stamp of approval and she has that crown. She could definitely do a good job, especially if she's able to come to terms with her personality and be more confident with herself. And I know that she's going to be delivering some amazing looks. Yet compared to the other 2 queens, I'm not sure she would be as exciting. Then we have Darlene Mitchell. Darlene has a genuineness about her, and she had the cards stacked against her too. We saw some of her runways. Some of her runways, sure, were super questionable. Even the one that we're seeing right now, this one got some pushback from people saying like, what is this? But that's the nerve that I want to see in contestants. She's showing people like, you don't need to be breaking the bank to come on the show. You just need a point of view. It's not even about just picking like cheap outfits. She had a point of view with every single one of her runways. And it felt like anytime she was walking on that stage, we were seeing more of her personality. And that's something that really can't be replicated. It's sort of like Juicy Love Dion's runways. Yeah, she had some really good ones, but it was never something that allowed us to peek into who she was. Darlene seems to have no haters. And I'm saying this because on Twitter, that's usually where the most haters are. Well, at least the ones that have the loudest voices. And I barely ever see people discuss her in a negative way. This could be a winner that brings the fandom closer together and ties a silver lining to this whole edition as a whole. Myki Meeks, she would 100% deserve to win this season. And I think it's important for me to clarify that. She 100% is one of the most talented queens that we've seen for the modern edition of the series. She is super versatile, and considering she's so young, it's actually impressive that she manages to come across as something that's so seasoned in her craft. I would not be mad if Myki Meeks won. Didi Fuego. Didi Fuego. So now we're gonna be looking at some tweets. This tweet I actually really liked because it tied the potential winner of the season into the actual theme of the overall edition. It says, this season's theme was about bringing back light in shady times, and who would do it better than Darlene? She is such a breath of fresh air to Drag Race with her unique style and not taking herself seriously, bringing back less expensive drag but with a lot more heart. This is 100% true. It just would be fun. Like, would it be 100% deserved? Maybe not. She didn't have the best track record out of the top 3, which is why if Myki wins, it'll be just as deserved. Like, if Myki wins, I'm gonna be celebrating. I'm gonna be very happy, and I think that she would have a really successful reign, especially considering the fact that she's already been in the Drew Barrymore show. So she already has big achievements under her belt, and it probably would set her up down a very good path if she was able to get that crown. The evolution of a winner, baby. It is interesting because when I first saw Myki Meeks walk into the workroom, I did not expect her to wow me as much as she did. I think my first impression was that, oh, this queen is for sure gonna be going far. I just didn't expect her to dominate and also just be surprising in general. Her snatch game to me was probably one of her best moments in the whole competition, and for me personally, my favorite thing that she's done. And you can tell that she has a true passion for drag, and she's well educated when it comes to drag history as a whole. Myki Meeks now has the second best streak of weeks at the top of Drag Race US history, tying with Jinx Monsoon 8. Oh, this is really cool, actually. This is really cool. It's just so odd because you get people making huge records like this season, and somehow it doesn't feel like it. For example, in season 16, when Saphira won 4 challenges, Plain Jane won 4 challenges, Nymphia Wind won 3 challenges but had a really good track record, they felt like powerhouses. They felt like, wow, yes, they have all these wins under their belt. They did so good. But somehow with this, it still feels like something was missing. And I think that's where the critiques about the overall storyline of the season come in. There was nothing that tied everything together. I mean, yes, she did get put in the bottom that one time by the other queens and prove them wrong, but that's sort of it. Oh, this is another topic that's been going on, and it's that Juicy supposedly won this lip sync against Nini Coco, but they ended up keeping Nini anyway. I have a weird take when it comes to this because I completely agree that Juicy won this lip sync. Unfortunately, I don't understand why production didn't allow Nini Coco to change her outfit, considering she was stuck in this gown. And it really ties back to how it's another missed opportunity to have a gaggy viral moment for this season. Nini is literally the only other queen in the top 5 that can do a bunch of stunts the way that Juicy does. So this should have been a nail to nail lip sync. So then why didn't she change out of her gown? I guess there is some fault that could be put onto Nini, considering she could have taken off her outfit in the middle of the lip sync, but we don't know the details. Maybe the outfit itself was too restricting to be able to seamlessly take it off and start doing pirouettes on stage. But at the same time, I do still feel like it made sense to send Juicy home. She had outstayed her welcome for so many weeks now, and it's like, why would we have her in the top 3 when we know she's not going to win? That being said, if they gave Nini Coco grace and kept her even though she lost the lip sync, then why didn't they give Jane Don't grace and kept her even though she lost the lip sync? It's weird, but let me know what you guys think below about who did better. Well, this is pretty much it for the video. I wanted to do a quick little stream to discuss my opinions about everything and have a little discussion with you guys in the comments below, so make sure you have your voice be heard. As I said before, a day before the finale, I'm going to be releasing my goodbye to season 18, and I'm going to be going in detail through every single episode, everything that happened outside the show. So have your voices be heard, and potentially you'll see your comment in that video. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys next time. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/GreenGay to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/GreenGay, and you'll be supporting the channel in the process. I want to take a moment to thank my patrons. In the Elite Pink Squad, we have Matthew Burns, Gay Uncle, Sari Tish, Las Potitas, Cool Gal Nan, Jet Sam Adams, and Natasha De Leon. And in the Gay Squad, we have Lone Resident, Christine Gregory. And in the Green Squad, we have Cayman Rider Furry, Edgar Allan Pup, The Only Sean, IJS, Not a Punch, But a Keek, Jack Beck, Galeria Gomez, Sarah G, Scarlet Rose, Boiled Peanut, Not an Omelet, But an Egg, Max Whale, Dea, Dea, and Niall O'Hearain. If you'd like to see your name on the screen, you can support me on Patreon. The link will be in the description. I'll see you guys next time.